everyone. Welcome to the 8th episode of the Women Startup Leader Series. In this episode, we have Sharawwat Islam as speaker and Ahmed Yusuf, advisory lead of Bangladesh Angels, as moderator.
Without a further ado, I'd like to introduce Sharawwat Islam, who's been here with us. She's one of the leading. Sharawwat Islam has been leading the Truvalu Bangladesh team for the last 3 years, with more than 15 years of work experience in well-known investment banks and banks in Bangladesh. Sharawwat joined Truvalu in 2018 from her passion to work with impact investments. She's responsible for the overall country operations of Truvalu Bangladesh and also represents Truvalu in the board of investee companies. Sharawwat has completed her BBA and MBA from Institute of Business Administration, University of Dhaka, and today she's our guest speaker for investing in high impact SMEs. I'd like to welcome on board Sharawwat to the stage. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, both Nichor and Jawad, and I'm really very happy to be part of this session.
Absolutely brilliant. It's the pleasure is ours, and we're really excited as well. So we'll start at the beginning with a little bit of background and work history, Sharawwat. If you can just tell us where did you grow up, and how did you know? How did you end up working in finance?
Okay, so. I grew up in Dhaka city, and as my father was in the Bangladesh Air Force, so I spent most of my life, almost more than half of my life, in the cantonment, in the Air Force base. And like most other Air Force kids, I went to BAF Science School. And as I was in the science group, so my parents wanted me to be either a doctor or an engineer, like most parents in Bangladesh. But I always wanted to be something else. And as I grew older, like when I was around 17 or 18, I developed an interest in the world of business. And I dreamt of having a business of my own someday. So actually, that's what got me into IBA. So after I got admitted in IBA, I told my parents that I'll not be sitting for any more admission tests for engineering or medical studies. And in IBA, finance and investments became my favorite subjects. And yeah, from there, I went on to build a career in finance. Just to add that, actually deep inside, my actual passion was to become a travel show host someday. So don't laugh at me, but that was my passion when I was a kid. So yeah. So then after IBA, I started my career into banking. I work in Dhaka Bank, American Express Bank, Standard Chartered Bank. And then after completing MBA, I took a break for 1 year. I taught at Prague University. After that, I moved into investment banking, work in NDB Capital, Lanka Bangla Finance. And in 2018, I joined Truvalu. Yeah, that's more or less about it.
That's a very diverse portfolio to begin with, right? And I just wanted to go into you've made your way around the financial institutions, right? Both global as well as local investment banks. Can you give us a really brief detail on what differences in working cultures and lessons that you've got in working in these domestic versus international organizations?
Well, I would say even Lanka Bangla had this very good culture. It was almost like it was a JV. It started as a JV. So I would say it was a completely local organization. NDB Capital was also a foreign organization. So I would not go into local versus foreign. Rather, I would say that in small organizations, what I have seen is there's more opportunity to learn. You get more independence, you get more decision-making authority. So your learning curve is steep. And in large organizations, these are very structured, like Standard Chartered Bank or like Dhaka Bank. So these were very structured organizations, and there's less opportunity to do experiments or take initiatives on your own or like customize something. So yeah, that's the I came in.
What is your?
I prefer to work in small organizations.
Absolutely, I think
Small
that's
but structured. Yes.
yeah. That's absolutely brilliant. In terms of your decision to join Truvalu in 2018, what actually motivated you, or what made you decide to join?
Well, I came across the term impact investment in 2015 while I was reading this article by Miss Durin Shahnaz. And I really got interested, intrigued by the idea that you can do investments, earn a profit, but at the same time, you can also do good. So I have previously heard about, socially responsible investing or sustainable investing. So these were like do no harm, but impact investing is different. It's even better. It's like do good, create an impact. So I started reading about it more, and in 2018, when I came across this opportunity, I got into it at once because I thought that I could use my existing experience in investment and also my skills for a better cause. And also this job would give me more flexibility, so I could spend more time with my family. I could spend more time with my kid. Yeah, so that's how I got into Truvalu.
That's excellent. In terms of the audience that are here present here today and that doesn't know about Truvalu that much, right? Can you give us a really short overview of Truvalu Enterprises, what they look into, what are the thesis or focus areas of investing here in the country?
Okay, so to begin with, Truvalu is a Dutch impact investment company. We are based in the Netherlands, but we operate in various emerging countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So if you ask about our investment thesis, so actually we believe in growing local businesses for fair economic development. And basically Truvalu is all about creating true value in emerging markets. So that's how our name came into being. So at Truvalu, we focus on development of small and medium growing businesses in the agri sector. And we also ensure creation of positive social impact. And basically we try to focus on the missing middle, not the very small businesses that are being catered to by the microfinance sector, not the very large ones that are being catered to by the banks or financial institutions. So the missing middle is our target or our focus investees. And we also focus on the financial return. So it's not just a grant or donation. We invest. We have the goal of tripling the value of the business. So at the end of 5 to 7 years, our goal is that the value of the business will be 3 times. And at the same time, there should be visible social impact.
Right. And in terms of, the personnels behind it, right? Who were the ones who started it off in the Netherlands, and where are you currently working on which markets are the focus, right? And who's leading Bangladesh right now? Is it with you?
I'm leading Bangladesh, but globally, Mr. Yapian Barbum is the founder. So he was a development professional turned social entrepreneur. He worked in Africa for 8 years. Basically, Truvalu started as a part of Eco Cooperation. Eco Cooperation is the NGO. So Truvalu started as the for-profit wing of Eco. So at that time, we managed funds, and Eco was one of the contributors of that fund, and there were also other high net worth individuals, other NGOs. But later, we became separate. So Truvalu right now is not just a fund manager, we are also owner of the fund. So yes, that's how Truvalu came into being. Our focus countries are Bangladesh, Colombia, Kenya, and Uganda.
Very
And in
interesting.
Bangladesh, we have been operating for the last 4 years. Actually, our company was incorporated way earlier, but it was in a different name, Tinder Capital, with different owners. So later, when Truvalu decided to come into Bangladesh to enter the Bangladesh market, Truvalu bought this company named Tinder Capital from the then owner. So yeah, that's how we started our operations 4 years back, and we started investing from late 2010.
Excellent. Talk us through a little bit about the operations here in the country, right? How big is it? What are you doing right now, or what kind of companies do you look into, right?
Yeah, so here in Bangladesh, we do two types of activities. One is, of course, investment. That is our core identity, and we focus on the investment, building our portfolio. And second is we also we are actively involved in development of SMEs, providing BDS, advisory services. For investment, basically we look into the financial performance, because we don't invest in startups or concept stage companies. So we look into the financial history, whether it's profitable. We also look into the entrepreneur's background, the governance of the company, the vision of the entrepreneur, scalability, the business model. So these are the factors we look into while we do our primary due diligence. And then we invest in convertible preference shares. We are not a local fund, as you know. Our fund is located in the Netherlands. So we invest directly from the Netherlands into the company. So here is also a challenge that whenever we invest in a business, it has to be converted into a private limited company.
And do you guys have like an overall structure, or is there an allocation strategy for individual countries on how much you want to invest into per year? Is there any mandates like that?
No, basically we make a plan at the beginning of the year, but it's not a hard and fast rule that, okay, Bangladesh will get this much and Uganda will get this much. If we find more interesting investments in Bangladesh in a particular year, then Bangladesh gets more allocation. If it's any other country in any particular year, that country gets more allocation. So it all depends on, and we usually invest 5 to 7 years. The expectation that the value of the business will become 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. In terms of the value chain that you see, right? What makes it inclusive?
Well, when we see that the chain impacts the lives of all the players, like smallholder farmers, small businesses, even end customers. So, we call it an inclusive value chain.
And is that your also metric for impact measurement as well?
Globally, we have adapted an impact measurement framework based on the IRIS framework. I think you have heard of that. Yeah. So if I briefly explain that, we mostly measure impact by the number of smallholder farmers in the value chain, number of jobs created, number of females engaged in the business, whether the business is serving the low income group of the economy, whether those at the base of the pyramid are being benefited in some way. So it's not that any one business will meet all these criteria, but these are the criteria that we look at.
Right. And in terms of financial performances, you just touched up on a brief, right? Can you give us a little bit more into what sort of due diligence that goes behind screening these companies?
Basically, we first look into the investment readiness. So we do an internal audit, like we look into their financials, their financial statements. Sometimes their financial statements are not ready to, so we help them prepare. Then we see whether the company is ready to be formed into a private limited company, whether it meets those criteria. We also mostly we look into the finances. We also try to look into the background or history of the entrepreneur, whether he has taken a loan from any bank. So if we know that the entrepreneur has taken a loan, maybe we talk to the bank to understand the entrepreneur's credit history. It's difficult because we are not eligible to get CIB. Only banks have access to that CIB, so we usually talk to the bank. Then we also talk to we visit that SME. We visit the premises, we visit the factory, try to assess the quality of the company, whether the business model is viable. So these things that we usually look into.
Interesting. And you talked about exits or a 3x or a 5x multiple, right? Is that like a hard and fast rule for your investment, and how do you sort of judge that?
It's mostly based on projection, that we do a very detailed financial model. So it's completely based on projection that we try to see that, okay, how much would be the IRR. Business has the potential to go to that level where the value would be 3 times the initial value. So yeah, it's mostly projection based. But we also understand that not every company in our portfolio will meet this criteria. So in our portfolio, some companies will exceed our expectations, some companies will be at par, some may be at loss. So yeah, on that we have this expectation that the value should be 3 times.
Excellent. And is there any first loss provisions for Truvalu enterprises? Do they take on that measure if for some reason, as you just mentioned, right? If a company, or if within the portfolios, if there's a company that fails to meet that 3 to 5x return, is there any first loss provisions from Truvalu that you sort of accommodate for your investments?
No, usually no, we have not. We do not have this sort of provisions, but sometimes we still did not exit any company or have not come this far. But maybe what we'll do is we can extend our investment period. Like if we see that, okay, during this year the company has made a loss, or it has the potential to recover from this loss, say within the next 2 years, maybe we will extend our investment tenure. That we can do.
Excellent. Wow. In terms of the measuring impact, what are the key indicators? I think you already talked about a little bit about this, but how do you derive these numbers, right? What are the behind getting to total numbers, as well as the aggregate data that you want to look out for?
Which numbers?
The average number of farms per company, or smallholder farmers that you have helped, or any sort of impact matrices that you're tracking, right? How are you bringing that into light, or how do you sort of measure them?
It's a bit challenging. So yeah, we have to depend on the entrepreneurs data. So we also visit the companies to see that, okay, the job creation data or the number of employees is at least somewhat related to what the entrepreneur says. And we also look into the entrepreneurs and selling records. So when we look into the records, we try to find out that, okay, from how many smallholder farmers the entrepreneur has procured the raw materials, or how many employees are. So yeah, we try to look into the financial records, but it remains to be a challenge.
Right. What percentage of the the decision making falls for? I know you've also mentioned that investment readiness is the first key measure that you see, and then you have impact measurement, right? So
Yes.
balance the two and decide what should be the best companies that you want to invest into and have in the portfolio.
Profitable growing companies with the potential for substantial scalability, and with an entrepreneur with a good business model, in short.
That's what we all want as well. In terms of the companies we've invested into, I think NF Boyer Limited. Can you tell us a bit more about this company and how you sort of came across and judged it in terms of investing into the company and part of the portfolio?
Yes, so it was very interesting. Basically, NF Choir, we got in contact with NF Choir. Another project that we did, it was called ABC project, Agricultural Value Chain Project of USAID, and this is how we got to know this company. And then when we visited, we found the business model to be very interesting. The producer of coconut coir and also felt mattresses, coir felt products, and also currently they are also making some gardening items. And the best thing about this company is the nature of the product and this circular model. You see, they are taking the dry goods, they're buying in the farmers, and then they are using the coir felt, I mean the coconut husk, for coir felt products. Dust that is produced as byproduct, which had no use before, which used to be piled up in their drying yard. So now it's being dried and it's being made into coco peat. It's used for gardening, for greenhouses, and it has huge demand in other countries in the European market, and they are also exporting this product. And they're getting into other gardening items as well. So you see, no part of the coconut is in this way. So, and also we consider ourselves as one of their co-entrepreneurs. So it's not just that we invested in the company, we also give them strategic advice. We arrange a Dutch expert from the Netherlands who came to the company, stayed with them, and then help them with strategic advice, help them with suggestions. So this is how we help the company. Now we are trying to link it up with European buyers. They're exporting to Korea, but we are also helping them, trying to help them to get connected with European buyers. So I think this is a very interesting business model. The entrepreneurs, yes. Yeah, sorry, Jao.
Sorry, Sharawwat, I was interrupting you. Please go on.
No. Yes, we consider us co-entrepreneurs to all the businesses we work with, to all our portfolio companies. Yes.
Got it. That's actually really helpful. And how long does the co-entrepreneurship, or how many hours do you spend per company to get them to not only get funding but also help them out to expand business operations?
Well, initially it depends on the type of the company and their level of investment readiness. So from due diligence to funding, on an average, it takes 6 months. If the company is already formed into a private limited, if it's very much ready, it can be done earlier, within 3 months. If it's ready, if it's at a very early stage in its development cycle, then the funding may take longer. But average is 6 months. And the co-entrepreneurship support goes on for as long as we remain invested in the company. So it can be 5 years, 7 years, 8 years. So as long as we are there, we help them with their growth. We help them with strategic advice. We help them. Even we have the option that maybe after 3-4 years, we may put additional investment in the company. So if the company's potential is really good.
And is these hours, on voluntary basis, or do the companies come to you and ask for help during the co-entrepreneurship, or do you do an active, engagement with them?
We are actively engaged with them, like say weekly, 3-4 hours we put for each company.
Okay, that makes sense, and that's really good. For even co-investments or follow-on investments as well. So coming to the initial point, like how do you sort of find companies like NFR? What are your ways to find out or reach out to potential SMEs working in remote areas or peri-urban areas around Bangladesh, right? How do you source these companies?
So we try to find out companies or scout companies from our networks. So rather than going for a completely unknown company, we rely a lot on our networks. But at the same time, we also publish advertisements in the newspapers, or social media. So in that way, also companies can apply to us. So, yeah, and we also rely on our network.
Excellent. And in terms of the last 1.5 years during COVID, how has it been for you? Like, what have you seen from the port? How are they doing? And how's that impacted you in your businesses?
Yes, definitely. I would say all of the companies in our investment portfolio have been affected by this pandemic, and the main problems they are facing is shortage of working capital, piling up of accounts receivable, piling up of inventory, distribution network problems, logistical issues. But another thing I have also seen is that their resilience, which has really inspired me, because all of these businesses, one of our investee companies, the owner was just telling me yesterday that everyone in their organization were affected by COVID, but still they did not work from home, or they did not keep their office closed. That even when someone got affected, that person stayed at home, but the others tried to run the operations, keep producing for the buyers. Some others also tried to tried to maintain their inventory while they waited for the season to harvest, and then they waited for the market to revive. So they are all working towards business recovery, and the resilience is something that should really be appreciated. And we did not make any new investment in 2020, but from this year onwards, Bangladesh is one of the focus countries for Truvalu Global Office, and this year onwards, definitely we are looking forward to making investments.
Interesting. And speaking of investments, can you just, I know you've touched up on this a little bit, but what is the mechanism, right? Even if a private limited company is formed, and Truvalu Global is investing directly into these companies, right? What's the mechanism, and what is the exit signals for them if they want to repatriate it back?
So once a company is formed, an SHA shareholders agreement is signed with the company, signed between the company and Truvalu BV or Truvalu, our global office, and then the fund comes directly into the company's account. So one of us, really from Truvalu Bangladesh, one of us sits in the board, and we are very actively involved with the business. So and also we invest in convertible preference share, because loan is problematic. Bringing in foreign investment as loan needs prior approval of Bangladesh Bank and BIDA, and it's also time consuming. So that is why we bring in the money as equity. So preference shares are issued against our name, I mean Truvalu BV's name, and these preference shares are convertible. So at the end of 5 to 7 years, these preference shares are expected to be redeemed with the profit of the company, very much like a bond. At the same time, it has that convertible option. If an owner says that no, I don't want my shares back, so the owner can also buy back the shares at a pre-agreed price.
And when that happened, I don't know if that has happened in the portfolio already or not. What is the mechanism for the global investor to repatriate it back?
That has not happened. Basically, the mechanism is easy. So either preference shares can be redeemed or the owner can buy back, and then we have to apply to the bank with the necessary documents. The bank will forward the application to Bangladesh Bank. So Bangladesh Bank will check into all the documents and make sure that the documents are right, that the application to repatriate, if all the documents are right, Bangladesh Bank will approve it, and the funds just go back to the designated account of Truvalu.
Excellent. I think there is a lot to learn from there for Bangladesh Angels as well. In terms of, I think just for the audience sake, if the video or if you log out from this session, please relog back in, because I think there was a technical glitch when we set this meeting up. So after 40 minutes, it's gonna end automatically, and it's not tied to the main account. So please relog back into the same link. We're extremely sorry for the inconvenience, but please bear with us today. So I'll continue, Sharawwat, and if the video or if we get logged out, please join in again through the same link.
Okay.
So in terms of your long-term priorities, what is Truvalu looking into? What are the medium-term goals, and what is the vision behind investing into the Bangladeshi market?
Well, talking about long-term priorities, we have the vision to diversify into related sectors. Like even now, when we say agri, it doesn't mean only food. So it's also food and non-food. So in future, we have the plan to get into agritech. Even from this year onwards, we are looking into agritech companies. Maybe in long term, we'll get into energy efficient solution providers, like solar energy solution provider that are in some way related to agriculture. Long term, we also envision having our local fund. So we'll have this local impact fund, and investors from not only in Netherlands but from all over Europe can invest. Even local high net worth individuals, local large investors can invest in the fund. So that is our dream.
That's excellent. And in terms of, is the fund Bangladeshi or is it controlled by the global entity?
Right now, we don't have any local funds. So we are operating as a private limited company, and it's 99% owned by our parent company in the Netherlands. And the fund is owned by Truvalu BV, which is located in the Netherlands.
And have you started fundraising from local syndicates or groups that are looking into impact investments? Have you found any groups like that in Bangladesh?
Yes, I'm sure that in Bangladesh there are many investors who would be interested in impact investing. So we haven't raised any fund yet because we don't have the fund management license yet, and we haven't applied for any. So in the long term, we plan to have a local fund. But I'm sure even there would be retail investors who may be interested, high net worth individuals who may be interested in impact investments.
Absolutely. And we have been seeing that as well in Bangladesh Angels. A few of our members are looking into impact investing, but you know the challenges and the barriers when it comes to investment readiness and investment matrices that
Exactly.
they look at. Yeah, what has been the biggest challenges, right, or biggest barriers to further investments from international impact funds like Truvalu and Bangladesh, right?
Yes, there are many challenges. Like, for example, foreign investors are restricted from investing in companies that are not registered as private limited companies. So because they cannot easily provide debt to Bangladeshi companies. I can give
Mm-hmm.
you some examples. Even that day I was talking to an European investor who is very eager to invest in Bangladesh, but he prefers loans or convertible loans. So he is not interested to invest in equity. But when he heard that, okay, it requires beta approval and that approval may take months, so naturally he backed out.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the major barriers. And also I would say that there is reluctance from businesses, local businesses, to register as private limited companies, because because of that additional reporting requirements, that transparency. So many businesses, they need funding, but they would say that no, I'll not go for foreign investment because I'll not go into the hassle of registering myself
Mm-hmm.
as a private limited company. And also we have seen one of the barriers is that many companies want funds, but they would like to use the fund as working capital. But our criteria is that we do growth funding, we provide growth capital. So even if a company is good, but they want working capital funding, we can only allow a portion of our funding to be used as working capital. Then of course, exit is challenging, will be challenging. There are so many regulations. Still, I mean, I would say it's much better than what it used to be from the previous few years. But still, exit is a problem. Even if there is an IPO, so now there is an SME exchange, but I don't see much activity in the SME exchange. And even if there is IPO, there will be lock-in periods. So most of the barriers, I would say, is regulatory.
It's absolutely, and that's understandable too. In terms of the exit ticket sizes, right? Or when it comes to a repatriation event, is there any minimum that you have to impose, or from your end, is Bangladesh Bank looking into a minimum check size to go into before having an exit scenario occur?
No, Bangladesh Bank does not have any minimum ticket size. Even for smaller sizes, there are some exemptions as well, like you don't have to go for valuation and all that. So no, there isn't any barrier regarding ticket size. But we try to bring in larger ticket investments because the overall process is the same. So it's always better to go for bigger investments, because a 10,000 euro investment and 1 million euro investment will have to go through the similar process of registering in Bangladesh.
What has been your traditional average ticket size per investment?
Our average is around 250,000 euros, but going forward, we may go for higher, and we also have a pool of co-investors. So yeah, we can go for up to say 500,000 or even 1 million euros if the investment is really that good.
Absolutely. And in your investment thesis, do you look into backing female-led ventures or enterprises from your standpoint?
Yes, we are very much looking for female enterprises. We love to do gender lens investing, but the biggest barrier is finding the right company with the right right criteria. So yeah, we have tried, and we are still trying, and we have to have one in portfolio, but we haven't found.
So what has been the biggest barrier for that? Is it finding the right kind of investees, or is there any way that can be expedited? What has been the biggest challenge for you to find out female-led entrepreneurs?
Maybe we have not found out, we have not found out the right companies, I would say. And we have found some companies, but they are very small, too small for our scale. So that's also another challenge. Like when we work with some NGO partners, so they would refer us some companies, but these are too small for our appetite.
Right. And are you doing anything to sort of actively seek out more female founders when it comes to gender-based investing?
No, we haven't. We are actively seeking investments, good investments, but yes, and of course we'll prioritize female entrepreneurs, but we are not doing anything to actively find out female entrepreneurs.
Right. What about angels or investors, female investors looking into the space, even in impact investing, right? What has been your biggest challenge to find co-investors who are also female investors, or interested just in impact investing?
Well, our co-investors are foreign investors. We have not found any local investors. So my challenge is that every time we talk to a foreign investor, the first thing he or she asks is that how do we repatriate our investment? So, ease of doing business. So must be, developed in Bangladesh. So that is the biggest challenge.
And in terms of engaging more female investors, what is your take on that? How do we get more female investors to join in angel investing or even in impact investing, right?
Yes, so yeah, definitely when we have this local fund in Bangladesh, I will come to Bangladesh Angels Network. We have this, Bangladesh Angel Women's Network. So definitely I'll approach them. I will approach the high net worth female investors. Now there are many female investors in Bangladesh, I know. So yeah, definitely I'll approach them personally when we have our local fund, but
absolutely,
we still don't have any.
We absolutely would love to work on that with you. I'll go to the audience's questions, but before that, I have one last one for you. Any advice for young women who aspire to be in your position and choose your career path? What advice would you give them?
Well, I have 3 advices. So first one is work really hard and always be knowledgeable about your work. Keep learning. Second is always be humble and empathetic. And third is be a good listener.
That's excellent. I think these are, life lessons as well. Thank you so much. I think I'll turn to the first question I see on the chat box, and the audience, please feel free to write in the questions as we go along. Have you ever looked into companies that are established in Beza? There are a lot of interesting opportunities there. Have you found out any foreign investors or any companies working in Beza?
No, so far we have not looked into that. Social impact is also our criteria. So if you know any such company that creates a positive social impact, feel free to contact me.
Absolutely. What sort of return threshold you require on preference shares and tenor? I think you've already talked about the 3x to 5x, right?
3 times, yes.
So is there like a mechanism that you derive that number? Or how do you sort of plan to,
so again, in other words, yeah, I can say we look for an IRR of around 25% because risk is very high in this business. And sometimes we don't take dividends for the first 1 or 2 years, even though we are preference shareholders.
Absolutely.
So 25 is the average.
Got it. I think Mamtaz Chaudhary typed in, what are the lessons learned from investments or failed investments, or investments that did not give you that 3x to 5x?
Yes, lessons learned is that what should I say? Yes, sometimes the entrepreneurs, they focus on too many things. So now when we see that an entrepreneur is trying to diversify or focus into other businesses, so it's a matter of caution for us. Sometimes we see that, okay, we did not do enough background checking about the entrepreneur, so he does not have this business acumen, so he lacks the business acumen. So now what we do is we do a lot of background checking. We even ask the people in the area that, okay, what do you know about this? So these things we have learned, and we're already working on it.
Got it. Given that you emphasize on social impact, how do you see potential target companies in the jute industry? What would be some matrices that you would be specifically interested in case of jute-based products or manufacturers or even a producer?
Definitely the company's potential to grow, what type of products it's making, whether it can attract the export market because it's jute. So whether there's potential for export, whether it has obtained the certifications required for export. So what does the company want to do? Also, what is the social impact? Is it creating jobs by engaging more women to produce jute-based products, or is it like buying jute from farmers? So yeah, these things that we'll look into. And also we believe that some impact has been created. Even if an entrepreneur fails after say 2 or 3 years, then some impact have definitely been created.
Thank you so much for that. I think Mahbub Bhai, I think your question really, we have answered that in terms of Truvalu does not look into working capital financing. They're based on growth capital. So, but I'll ask a question to Sharawwat based on what you just mentioned. Sharawwat, if you can just give us a brief about the different categories or sectors that Truvalu has invested into in the past, and what kind of sectors are very lucrative for investments right now? I think that would give the audience a little bit of an insight in the portfolio as well as pipeline.
Okay, so right now we are very much looking into agritech, food tech, innovative food processing, energy efficient solutions. So right now that's our criteria, because we have not yet invested in any tech company, agri-tech company. Previously we have invested into food processing, into jute products, then I said coconut coir. So mostly these industries, waste management.
Right. And how many are in the portfolio right now?
Right now, we have exited some investments. So right now we have around 10 investments.
Excellent. That's excellent. And per year, how many investments
two
do you do?
Large investments. Per year, we do, our plan is to do at least 1 or 2 large investments.
Got it. Absolutely. I hope, Mahbub, by that answers the question. I think tea processing is something. Have you ever come across tea processing or
yes,
any companies in that sector?
One of our investee companies does that.
Can you give us a little bit of an insight for Mahbub Bhai's sake?
Yes, we have a company in the northern part of Bangladesh, and it produces orthodox tea, rice, and compost. So tea is one of their products. They have their plantation, and yes, so we'd be interested in if any other company approaches us that's a tea producer. Our biggest investment is 250,000 euros, but that's our part. We have a co-investor, and that total was 1.25 million euros. Yeah.
I think more or less that covers most of the questions that we have from the audience. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, and Sharawwat for this excellent session. looking forward to connecting and making things happen in the impact space in Bangladesh.